Our next speaker is Xuan Yi, and they'll be giving the presentation smaller, slower, sloppier. Right. So with that, take it away.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Xuan Yi. I'm a new faculty member in the Department of Fine Arts, where I teach expanded media in the intersection of art and technology. I'm also a practicing artist, musician, and creative technologist. Today, I'm presenting, my presentation is actually a paper I published earlier this year on the Digital Review, which is a digital publication all about media arts and its adjacent philosophies and critique. And the issue I was part of on this review was AI augmented creativity. Before I jump into my presentation, this is the first endnote of my paper, which really I think is very important for me to open with it. Here we go. As an ESL, English as second language learner who's fond of poetic noises, I have developed a rather complex workflow for writing in accessible English, often with the aid of AI-powered tools while working within an internet-connected interface. Most recently, my aid mix includes free-tiered Grammarly, DeepL, which is a translation tool, and ChatGPT 3.5. And I use Obsidian, a Markdown language, as my primary writing interface. This workflow typically involves recursive translation between Chinese and English, light paraphrasing, and grammar checks. Although the workflow is mainly intended for more formal expression in an Anglophone environment rather than creative expression, the raw outputs generated by these tools often feed back to my thought processes, prompting new sequences of ideas and words. So I consider all my published writings in English as a collaboration with cybernetic intelligence. In this brief writing, the term artificial intelligence is employed in its broadest sense, encompassing various subfields, including machine learning and deep learning. While each of these domains has its own distinct definition and applications, the overarching concept of AI in this presentation refers to intelligence exhibited by computer systems that are all often involved with human intelligence as well. So as a context about my research creation broadly, my work with and in AI started in 2016 amidst my role as a full-time developer for user experiences. I initiated a Shirk-funded art project exploring digital poetics and algorithmic narration. So this venture led me down a path of experimentation with this method called artist as hacker, resulting in text-based artworks, including Twitter bots, interactive websites, and installations. Work, I is the, from 2017, I started process utilizing the next word prediction feature to generate sentences and email correspondences addressed to myself. This process evolved into an ongoing dialogue between me and the consumer-grade AI functionalities that are empowering the text prediction function. The initial 3 words suggested by my keyboard interface was I is the, unlike this example here. That served as a dialogue starter. So with each interaction after this starter, I will select 1 out of 3 words in each sentence iteration. Without knowing the predicted following words, the selecting step is almost arbitrary. And after around 50 attempts, spanning over a few months, the dialogue starter I is shifted to something new. And this is the final installation that are made out of this corpus I accumulated. To rewrite my philosophical reverberations behind this work at the time, the AI enacted language predictions are shaped by my language use habits and track through all my typing interactions with the keyboard interface on my own smartphone. As I dialogue with this predicted future me, the once clear distinction between myself and the machine begins to blur. Gradually eroded line by line. The resulting output is marked by this occasional self-contradiction exemplified by phrases like, the only one thing that sounds good is that it doesn't sound good. So this is the installation with video projection mapping. Mikhail Bakhtin's concept of dialogism posits that the ideological becoming of a human being is the process of selectively assimilating the words of others. In this process, I said, human agency relinquishes authorship to the machine while the machine is tasked with learning from the human's dissolving subjectivity. As I reflect upon this work, what I did was close to the inner workings of the chatbot, enabled by word embedding algorithms in large language models that are now ubiquitous. My early intervention in reenacting a chatbot fits the method I've now dubbed as smaller, slower, and sloppier, which aims to unravel my process working with AI later. And these methods guide my engagement with consumer-grade AI-powered functionalities, open source data and code bases in creating images, text, and sound. The solemnity of the title, smaller, slower, and sloppier, intentionally mirrors the rhetoric of tech giants with their grandiose promises of machines that are smarter, brighter, and mightier. The portraiture of machines is intelligent or smart and capable of almost omnipotent feats, marketed for mass consumption, promotes a techno-optimistic and extractivist worldview, further enchained by colonial capitalist ideologies. These ostensibly accessible technologies, such as consumer-grade AI-powered functionalities, with their seductive promises of convenient and flawless prediction, project an immaculate certainty that perpetuates the narrative of techno-capitalism driven by this relentless pursuit of control and progress. Amid this glossy veneer, I discern an opportunity for subverting or subversion. Smaller, slower, and sloppier instead propose a reductive stance, highlighting three tendencies in my practice. Smaller data refers to collecting or feeding data in a lightweight manner, eschewing the need for vast data sets, as in big data, in favor of rigorous and commonsensical results. Slower training involves training data in a shorter and somewhat inadequate way, deviating from swift and exhaustive data training processes. Lastly, sloppier rendering abstains from meticulous fine-tuning of parameters embracing unpredictability and imperfection. This practice beckons forth a reimagining of our relationship with technology, challenging the norm that technological progress must strive for optimization and efficiency to the detriment of human intuition and machinic labor. My works remix these errors arising from this method, also illuminating how technological hiccups or glitches can catalyze a reconfiguration of my own imagination and perception. So to illustrate my method, I will delve into 3 projects developed around the same time. Error number 4, deeper wear triads and garrulous guts. In studying the early forays of experimentation in AI under the purview of DARPA, I happened upon a riveting anecdote, an account detailing the first case of virtual cannibalism enacted by AI entities. This is a consequence of inadequate directives by the human researchers. So the ramification of this encounter resulted in this multimedia installation, prompting my question on the metaphorical resonance of cannibalism that transcends mere cultural symbolism that underscores a broader discourse on the cyborg body. In this context, AI becomes an emblematic of a cannibalized human agency, or vice versa, a concept further elucidated by Catherine Malabou's observation that the very basic notion of intelligence is inherently a collaborative effort between humans and machines. Apart from a single channel video that reanimates the story, error number 4, the oral logic, also features a generative text. Generative text Past Set Lore by Sir Salad Poet. And also an interactive web application. So that's the generative text. To mirror the Christian Genesis narrative in the DARPA experiment, I fed the text of John Milton's Paradise Lost as training data by implementing a recurrent neural network for a character-level language model. Deliberately setting the parameters to values below the threshold for optimal predictions. The resulting text is comprehensible, yet notably irrational, contributing to the surrealism surrounding this narrative of virtual cannibalism. The web application employs a real-time YOLO object detection system trained on data sets of various objects, capable of detecting 80 classes of objects with predicted probabilities. By positioning a webcam and a mirror facing each other at eye level, the viewers are encouraged to engage with this application, which misidentifies human faces as objects. So here's an example which basically the application think whoever is facing it is a bicycle. Objectifying humans by an mistakenly functioning software initiates this endless feedback loop between the mirror and the camera, symbolizing a metaphorical autophagy akin to this closed loop of a human skeleton consuming its tailbone. The second project, Deep Aware Triads, is a series I started as an attempt for myself to learn about artificial neural network, which is designed to replicate biological neural networks in animal brains. In computer vision, a supervised machine learning model employing artificial neural networks facilitates object detection, as exemplified by YOLO in this instance. Throughout the training process, the model's parameters, including weights and biases, are tuned to minimize a loss function that measures the disparity between predicted outputs versus ground truth labels that construct referential databases for the machine to validate a target or an objective, usually are defined by humans. This is a diagram of a basic artificial neural network in reality. Drawing on an ultra-simplified diagram of such artificial neural network, I fictionalized to culminate in one single definite goal or representation. I try to metaphorically mirror this training process by which these networks will identify complex phenomenon within the context of my artist practice. For instance, what we're seeing here, this iteration, which is 3 paintings. These paintings are originated from my intrigue with how digital technologies shape embodied experiences. And I chose to unfold this interplay through 3 subject matters: oris, which is oral, hormonal, and spinal, which each subject matter serving as the target node in the output layer. I identified 2 dimensions of the subject matter that I deemed relevant as the input layer and elucidated their connections, resulting in 3 nodes as the hidden layer. And I compiled or accumulated my image databases from royalty-free stock photo archives and also medical research that are public to populate these nodes in my diagram with visual lexicons. Subsequently, I crafted collages of these images, utilizing the content-aware field function in Adobe's Photoshop and Illustrator to smear the borders of each individual image with machine-calculated pixels. So the content-aware field function was originally designed to, swiftly fill an area of an image with new information based on its surrounding pixel. It offers an AI-driven approach to remove objects or extending backgrounds without the need for humans to manually cloning or filling or cleaning the image. However, instead of seeking these accurate and clean predictions, I welcome these calculations by setting a smaller sampling areas and low adaptation values. Through doing that, the images encroached upon one another as if they were virtual bodies and giving rise to unexpected and mysterious brush strokes and textures that are in fact repetitions of a very small number of predicted pixels. In a microscopic perspective, the final works are digital paintings that evokes algorithmic pareidolia that could be seen as false positive results or quote-unquote hallucinations in a very typical implementation of artificial neural networks. In real-world applications, AI data labeling often relies on low-paid crowd workers, highlighting the ethical precarity inherent in this global vision of digital labor. In the creation of this project, I view my method of annotation as an act akin to translation, whereby the curation of such data serves to encode the semiotic associations on a symbolic level instead of mere iconicity. The representational authority of stock photography in contemporary visual culture also reinforced this power structure in cultural production, adds to another layer of annotation. As I navigated this complex use of stock photos and also meaning making misusing some AI functionalities, I became acutely aware of the layers of significance embedded within each curated data. While artificial neural networks mimic human neural functions through mathematical abstraction, represented as lower dimensional diagrams of the biological architecture responsible for cognition in organic neural tissues. My approach within the Deep Aware Triads project series veers towards a recursive biomimicry. The digital paintings transform the probabilistic nature of the computational feasibility into a metaphysical inquiry. What constitutes the ground truth of something entangled within mired other entities, which are undergoing perpetual shifts in meaning and becoming. The third project is called Garrulous Guts, which is a multimedia installation including a 2-channel 3D animation depicting the gastrointestinal tract overlaid with text. And it's projected onto the wall, and the white air ducts covering 2 subwoofers here. And the subwoofers are playing back a computer composition. Low-frequency sounds push the speaker's membrances, causing the capsules containing antibiotics and anti-estrogen hormone powders to pulsate. In the sound design for this installation, I employed WaveNet, a deep neural network created by Google DeepMind for synthesizing raw audio waveforms. WaveNet was initially developed for text-to-speech or speech-to-text functions, which are commonly used in voice assistants. I trained an instance of a WaveNet using a dataset of English speech corpus commonly used in ESL education. And in my experiments, I discovered that after training the dataset insufficiently in duration and iteration, the results were glitched, stuttered, and unrecognizable English speech sounds. This new quasi-English speech that emerged from this process is noisy and aseptic. It completely defeats the purpose of learning English or a speech recognition algorithm. It reassembles a tongue in the in-between space where one is acquiring a new language. It prompts hesitation, disruption, and unlearning, like vomit. I gather sound samples from 3 additional categories: amplified long numbers, sounds of vomiting, purportedly therapeutic meditation needed for alleviating the vomiting symptoms, end this indecipherable image stage using a chat program, which is a computer music tool. And it was programmed by my collaborator, Jason Dover. And we employed an aleatory algorithm to produce a generative composition that's with indefinite duration. So this is right now what you're hearing is an iteration of this composition. Error 4, Deep Aware Tribe, and Garrulous Guts eventually remixed into my solo exhibition project, which is shown here, titled The Oral Logic in 2019. As we journey into the electronic expanse, we as consumers and readers ingest, ruminate, metabolize, and assimilate electronic culture across all domains. From ingestion to articulation, from the molecular to the perception, our body and psyche are tethered to the cyborg economy. In this context, my work, The Oral Logic, tried to critique the poetics and politics of human-machine coupling, prompting inquiry into the trajectory of this symbiotic relationship. And the method Smaller, Slower, Sloppier tried to offer this framework to err with machines, to exchange agencies and unfold contingencies with the artist, me, in this instance, while building a morphing network of meaning becoming. And that was my presentation.